Welcome back. In one of my other videos, I showed you how to solve a basic problem in algebra. And the problem I showed you was how to solve was x plus 4 is equal to 7. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to solve a little bit of a different kind of a problem. It says x minus 4 is equal to 7. In the last video, we talked about how x stands for a missing number, and we need to find out what the missing number is. We need to find out what number x stands for. And this problem is really just like a problem with a blank here. It says blank minus 4 is equal to 7. And we just have to fill in the blank. And we know the number that has to go in the blank here is 11, because 11 minus 4 is equal to 7. So this means that x, the number that x stands for, is 11. We know that that's going to be our answer, but we want to have some steps to go through to reach the answer. We don't want to just have to reach the answer just by looking at the problem. So how can we do some steps to reach the answer? First, I'm going to go over a little bit of the rule that we talked about last time. Last time we talked about how you have a total amount on the left side and a total amount on the right side. And if you have an equal sign here, it means that the total amount that's on the left side is the same as the total amount on the right side. And the total amount on the left side in this problem is whatever x minus 4 equals. So we know that if the total amount on the left side is the same as the total amount on the right, then we know that whatever x minus 4 equals over here has to be 7. And we talked about how if you have the same total amount on both sides, like if the amount on both sides was 7, you can subtract a number from both sides of the problem, like maybe 4. And as long as you've started out with the same amount on both sides, like 7 and 7, you'll still have the same amount on both sides when you're finished. 7 minus 4 equals 3 on the left side, and 7 minus 4 equals 3 on the right side. And you can still have an equal sign here because you ended up with the same amount on both sides. And let's see if this also works with adding. If we add the same number to both sides, will we still end up with the same amount on both sides, like we did with 3 and 3? Let's try to see what happens. What if we add 4, 7, and we on the left side, and we add 4, 7 on the right side? We're still doing the same thing to both sides, but now we're adding a number to both sides. 7 plus 4 equals 11 on the left side, and 7 plus 4 equals 11 on the right side. So when you add the same number to both sides, you still end up with the same amount on both sides. As long as you started with the same number on both sides, like 7 and 7, and you add the same number to both sides of the problem, you'll still end up with the same number on both sides after you're done adding. So we can really do whatever we want to the left side of the problem. We can do whatever we want to the amount on the left side, as long as we do the same thing to the total amount on the right side. As long as we do the same thing to both sides, the two sides will still be equal when we're done. And let's see if we can use this rule to solve our problem. Last time we talked about how we want x to be alone on the left side. And we want to end up with x alone on the left side, and we want to have one number on the right side. And then once we get to that point, we'll know that x equals the number on the right side. How can we do this? Well, we know that when we get to the end of the problem where we have x equals something, it's important for the two sides of the problem to actually still be equal to each other. And how can we make sure that they're still equal to each other? We know that the two sides are equal right now. As long as we do the same thing to both sides of the problem, the two sides will still be equal when we get done. So in order to get rid of this minus 4, we have to do something to make the minus 4 equal to 0. Because if we get a 0 amount over here, then this 0 amount is just going to cancel out, and we'll be left with just x on the left side. And you know that this is negative 4 because when you have a subtraction sign or a minus sign in front, it's actually a negative number. So minus 4 plus 4 is equal to 0. And since we get a 0 amount here, it just cancels out and disappears. But we have to do the same thing to the right side so that the two sides will still have the same amount on both sides. And as long as we add the same number on both sides of the problem, then the two sides of the problem will still be equal. 7 plus 4 on the right side is equal to 11. So now we have x is the only amount on the left side. This is a 0 amount after we added 4, so it disappears. The amount on the right side is now 11. And since we added the same number to both sides, we know the two sides are still equal, which means we can still have an equal sign right here. And we know that since the two sides are equal, that the amount that x equals has to be the same as the number we have over here on the right side. And since the total amount on the right side is 11, the total amount on the left side is also 11, which means that x, which is the only amount on the left side now, has to be 11. We know that x is 11, and we just found out what x equals. And when people write their answer to the problem, they just write it out like this. You just write x is equal to 11, and you're finished. We found out that the missing number up here is 11. And you can see that this problem is a little bit different. The steps in this problem is a little bit different. I mean, the steps are a little bit different than they were last time, because last time we had x plus 4 is equal to 7. And when you have a plus here, you subtract on both sides. But when you have a minus sign here, you add on both sides. And I'll actually put these two problems up side by side so you can see the difference between the two problems. I'll write the old problem on the left side. The old problem was x plus 4 is equal to 7. And the new problem is x minus 4 is equal to 7. And in both of these problems, we did something to both sides of the problem. And in both of the problems, we wanted to make it so x was alone on the left side, and we wanted to end up with just one number on the right side. And in order to cancel out this amount that you have on the left side that's not x, this amount that you have other than x on the left side, to cancel that out, you have to do something to make it equal to 0. And this right here is plus 4, which means a positive 4. And in order to go from positive 4 to 0, you have to subtract 4. And then you also have to do the same thing on the right side. So 7 minus 4 equals 3 on the right side. Over here, where you have 7 minus 4 is equal to 7, you have a negative 4 here, and you have to do something to negative 4 to make it equal to 0. So it'll cancel. To go from minus 4 to 0, you have to add 4. And then you have to add 4 on the right side too, and you get 11. And one important thing to remember is that these two signs right here, where you get 0, let me see if I can do this with red ink. These two signs, sorry about that, these two signs have to be opposites. So here you have a plus and a minus, and you have plus 4, minus 4, and it equals 0. Over here, your two signs still have to be opposites. And we still have opposite signs, it's just now we have the minus sign on the top and the plus sign on the bottom. And as long as you make sure that these two signs are the opposite, then you'll get 0, and this amount on the left side will cancel out. So if you start out with a plus, subtract on both sides. If you start with a minus over here, add to both sides to get your answer. And I hope this video helps you starting to learn how to solve these types of problems. Thanks for watching.